Wow. Well,
That was you.
Oh, that was me.
Are you critiquing at every moment when you see that? You seem like you're like crawling out of your own
it's always one of
skin.
those things with when you sort of read a script, you have the sense of who someone is in your mind. And for actors, it's always just sort of desperately you sort of see what you see, the final product. You're like, that's not quite how I imagined it. But no, what is wonderful about this film is when I read the script, I was just so deeply moved by this love story. And it was kind of unlike anything I'd ever read. And when I saw the film, I got that
And
same
forgive me,
sense.
we should set up what the story is about. This is right out of history.
Yeah.
You play one of the first transgenders who undergoes the surgery. And it's quite a remarkable story in many ways. You get the script, and they say to you, all right, you played Stephen Hawking. You had to physically change yourself for that role. I mean, here's another one.
Yeah, well, actually, do you know, I got this script before Theory of Everything.
Is that right?
I got this script from Tom Hooper, who directed Les Miserables, when I was making Les Miserables. And he didn't say anything about the script. He just gave it to me to read when I was attempting to kind of warble on a barricade.
Yeah.
And he said, and I just read this piece and was so profoundly moved by it. And it's really it's a story about love and these two extraordinary women.
Well, and the timing is brilliant because back then this was a time before Caitlyn Jenner, before all of that. I mean, now the transgender discussion is at the forefront.
Yeah, and what was wonderful for me prepping to play the part is I met many trans women, both here actually in Los Angeles and in London. But
what was that like?
Oh, it was wonderful. I mean, just the most extraordinary people who were so open with their experience.
Can I bring up one name as you talk about this? Lana Wachowski.
Yes.
Former Larry, the Wachowski brothers whom you have worked with, underwent the transition and was a big help to you.
She was, because between Les Miserables and making The Danish Girl, I worked with Lana, and I mentioned Gerda and Lily's story to her, and she spoke so passionately about the art, because they were both artists, Lily and Gerda, and specifically about Lily. After she died, her memoirs were published, and how important a book this is.
And there's Lana right there.
And Lana is just the most wonderful woman, and extraordinary.
You had the memoirs to go by.
Yeah.
But we're not even sure if those are 100% accurate.
Yeah, so it was interesting in preparing. I went to the memoirs, to also the paintings were very kind of insightful.
Right.
But also it was about, as I was saying, meeting trans women and trans men and their partners living now and hearing their experience and then trying to place that in the context of the 1920s.
It's a big responsibility.
Well, do you know what? It's just been privilege, really. It's felt just... the wonderful thing about acting is when you're preparing to play a part, you meet people and people share their stories with you and you make great friends along the way, and that's been one of the great things.
But you also have the responsibility to do it justice, you know?
To do it justice, yeah. And certainly for Theory of Everything, it was knowing that Stephen and Jane would see that film.
Your performance, obviously, you got an Oscar for that, was just so absolutely incredible. And I'm wondering, you know, you're standing on stage receiving the Oscar, and in the back of your head, as you just said, you already had the script for this film. Are you thinking, oh, you guys, you don't even know what's coming next?
Oh, no. Do you know, I was actually...
complicated role. Stay tuned for this.
It was, do you know, I was actually filming this when I was making... when the Oscars happened, we were 2 weeks into filming, and so I just went away for the weekend, and then we came straight back to Heathrow, my wife and I, with a bit of a
And you were
hangover.
just married?
Just married, yeah. And we went straight from Heathrow back onto the set of The Danish Girl. So it was a whirlwind of a time, but an amazing time.
So you were hungover on The Danish Girl.
Yeah. Actually, in fact, the first scene of this film is Lily when she's living as Einar in bed, and Gerda comes and wakes her up, and that was our first day of shooting. Was the morning after the BAFTAs, and
So
when
you got to lay in bed all day.
Exactly. Thank God, because I saw the film Venice, and I just had hangover ingrained.
Very believable. Now, in the story,
So behind the
I don't know how
scenes.
far we go with spoilers since it's a story that's in history.
Well, don't give away the end.
I'm not going to give away the
Okay.
end. But there is a key moment, because people ask the question, how did this happen? How did this guy become Lily? And it really started with a very, very simple little thing, pleasing your wife.
Well, I mean, from all the trans women I met and all the research I did, everyone spoke of knowing from the age of 3 or 4 that they were born with a different gender to that they were assigned. Now, with Lily, it's documented that there was a moment when she was posing for her wife and she was told to put on stockings because the sitter couldn't come. And that was a moment of sort of catalyst in some ways. But what was important for me was making sure that Lily knew she was Lily all her life, but it was about her emerging.
She didn't discover
Well, it was finding, at that time, there was no language, there was no vocabulary for being trans.
So,
That's right.
as we know, it's not easy being a woman. What was it like?
That's right.
I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a
lot of work.
So what was it like that very first time
I'll tell you what, let's take a break. He will
Okay.
answer that question.
when
That's a good
Eddie
question.
becomes Lily?
And also, I want to bring something else up. You modeled in a fashion show when you were in college.
That's true.
And you,
Where's
wait a
this
minute.
going?
Hold on. And you weren't wearing a shirt,
Oh,
and you were pasty
Yep,
and freckled,
yep,
but there was a woman that you met that
that's
day.
true.
We'll get to that story.
wow.
All right.
Okay.
We'll be back later.
Cliffhanger.
Don't leave.
Cliffhanger, don't go. I'm going nowhere, I'm just
Funny, they got
blushing.
up and